They told you to breathe, to feel, to open up, but the moment you did, they used it against you. Emotion makes you predictable. Predictable makes you weak. So here's the brain hack that doesn't heal. It kills. Kills hesitation, kills fear, and builds something colder than control, calculated domination. Emotion is your weakness. Emotion is not strength. It's the glitch that gives everything away. You flinch, they strike. You hope, they deceive. You care, and they control you. You were trained to treat emotion like a compass. But in truth, it's a flashing target strapped to your chest. In a world ruled by cold precision, the one who feels too much bleeds first. They don't need to overpower you. They just need to understand you. A sigh, a delay, a tremor in your voice, a tightened jaw, a shaky breath. Each second is a leak, and they gather every drop. Emotion leaks your blueprint to the world. But what if you change the code? What if you could flip it? Feel when you choose, not when triggered. To simulate care, to mimic fear. But beneath all that, you stay untouchable. Emotionless, no. Focused, refined, weaponized. This isn't detachment. This is elite control. You still feel. Just not when they expect you to. Not when it gives them power. Only when it gives you an edge. Because the one who reacts dies slowly. And the one who doesn't instills fear. They can't strike what they can't read. And if they can't read you, they can't control you. That's the shift. That's the advantage. Now it's yours. The cold calculation hack. Every time you react emotionally, you hand over control. Not just of the moment, but of your identity. This brain hack doesn't make you heartless. It makes you dangerous. Because you stop leaking signals. You stop giving away what you feel. Here's how it works. You pause. That's the weapon. In the space between stimulus and response, you calculate. Not based on pain, not based on panic, but based on patterns. People become chess pieces, not enemies, not allies, just predictable systems. You map out their next 3 moves before they make the first one, because your brain doesn't flinch anymore. It doesn't ask, how do I feel about this? It asks, how do I win from this? You freeze the noise, you simulate outcomes, you weaponize silence. No panic, no guilt, only probability, only position, only power. This is how emotions die, not with violence, but with precision. They don't see it coming, because it's not rage, it's not revenge, it's calculation wearing a human face. Step 1, the emotional delay rule. The moment your brain reacts, you've already lost. Not because you felt something, but because you responded immediately. That instant emotional reflex is the death of strategy. It hijacks your logic and replaces it with instinct. Instinct is for prey. Calculation is for predators. So the first hack is simple, but surgical. Delay your emotional reaction. When something triggers you, pause. Not for minutes, just 2.8 seconds. That's all the brain needs to break automaticity. You feel the heat rise. You feel the insult hit. You feel the panic pull. You don't act. You hold. Why? Because in that pause, you regain the throne. Emotion is a servant. But when it acts first, it becomes your master. You cannot lead yourself, let alone others, if your biology leads you. So, what do you do in the delay? You label the emotion, not feel it, not justify it, just name it. Anger? Fear?
That's it. No story, no drama.
The moment you label it, your brain moves from the limbic system to the prefrontal cortex, from primal to strategic, from animal to architect. And now you're in control. This isn't about being calm. It's about being prepared. Prepared to use that emotion if needed, but only when it serves your mission. Most people explode because they think it shows strength. But real strength is the person who doesn't blink while everyone else burns. This delay becomes your edge because people expect reactions. They expect the raised voice, the flinch, the defense. But when you just stare, when you just process in silence, you become unpredictable, and unpredictable people control outcomes. This rule rewires your internal algorithm. You stop asking, how do I defend myself? You start asking, what advantage does this give me? Imagine this in practice. Someone insults you. Old self fires back, new self. 2.8 seconds. You see their weakness, their insecurity. You realize this isn't an attack. It's a reveal. You don't respond with defense. You respond with dominance, through silence, through control, through timing. Because when you delay emotion, you create a gap. And in that gap, power grows. You don't get manipulated anymore. You don't get baited into emotional traps. You become a mirror, reflecting back exactly what others put out, but never letting it stick to you. Most people live on default mode: trigger, reaction, regret. But this rule fractures the chain: trigger, delay, analysis, mastery. This is how soldiers are trained. This is how CEOs negotiate. This is how predators plan. Every time you delay a reaction, you're not just gaining seconds, you're gaining options. Because the most dangerous man in the room isn't the loud one. It's the one whose silence is measured, the one whose heart is still, while yours is racing. So practice the delay. In arguments, in high-pressure decisions, in emotional chaos, don't numb yourself, sharpen yourself. Train your brain to wait, so when you do act, it's lethal, not reactive, not sloppy, just surgical. Step 2, think in numbers rule. Feelings lie, numbers don't. Your brain has been trained to feel first and calculate later. That's the flaw. That's why you panic when someone pulls away, why you get emotional over a message seen, but not replied. Why you assume you're failing if results don't come in a week. Because your internal system measures emotionally, not mathematically. And emotion is unstable, unreliable, corrupted. This rule resets your metrics. Start thinking in numbers, not in narratives. Someone ghosts you. Don't ask, why would they do this to me? Ask, how many days has this been a pattern? Give it a timeline, track it. And now, it's data, not drama. You think your life is falling apart? Don't spiral. Pull the figures. How many hours did you work last week? How many tasks were completed? What's your 7-day behavioral trend? Because the story you tell yourself is irrelevant if it's not backed by evidence. The mind lies to protect the ego. Numbers expose the ego and force precision. Let's go deeper. Say you feel behind in life. The emotional mind says, everyone is ahead of me. The numerical mind says, how many people my age are actually doing what I want to do? How many hours per week have I spent executing? How many mistakes did I correct this month? That one shift from emotional generalization to cold calculation is the difference between anxiety and action. Your feelings are fog. Numbers are coordinates, and strategy requires coordinates. You want to dominate life like a strategic genius. You need a dashboard mind, not an emotional storm. In military operations, there is no decision made on emotion. Everything is tracked. Casualties, territory, resources. Every win and every loss is quantified. Why? Because you can't improve what you don't measure. If you're angry, measure the cost. How many relationships has it damaged? How many opportunities did you lose because you couldn't control it? If you're lazy, quantify it. How many hours did you waste scrolling? How much money has that delay cost you over the last 90 days? Stop calling it a bad day. Start calling it 2 hours of mismanaged focus. See the difference? The second one can be fixed. The first one is just noise. You don't need motivation. You need metrics. This is how predators calculate. They don't chase every rabbit. They weight, track, measure speed, direction, and energy expenditure. Then, when the numbers line up, they strike. You want to win arguments. Count how many times the other person uses feelings over facts. You want to win business. Track conversion rates, response windows, retention timelines. Not moods, not vibes, not hope. Track habits, track patterns, track results. Emotion is what keeps most people in loops. Number, thinking breaks the loop. Ask yourself, how many days this month did I follow my system? How many fake friends still remain in my circle? How many unnecessary decisions did I make because I wasn't tracking anything? The mind resists numbers because numbers expose the truth. But that truth is where power lives. You want to be feared in negotiations. Walk in with data no one else has. Not with desperation, not with assumptions, just facts. Emotion creates urgency, but numbers create leverage, and leverage wins wars. So next time you feel chaos rising, ask yourself, what's the measurable? What's the percentage? What's the frequency? What's the weight of this over time? Train your brain to ask these questions before reacting. That shift rewires everything. You're no longer feeling overwhelmed. You're processing inputs. You're no longer panicking. You're running the stats. You stop seeing life as chaos. You start seeing it as ratios, percentiles, decisions per variable. Because the cold mind doesn't fear failure. It just adjusts the numbers. That's step 2. Think in numbers, not feelings. and your decisions will cut like a scalpel through everything fake, unstable, and weak. Step 3. The third-person view. Every decision you make is distorted, warped by your pain, your ego, your craving to feel right, not be right. So you exit, you detach, you stop being the actor and become the observer. This is the third-person view, the lens used by elite interrogators and chess grandmasters. Its goal: strip away emotional interference and leave only clarity. You stop saying, I. You stop thinking like, me. You reframe every moment through a detached narrative. I'm afraid she'll leave me, but he fears she'll be gone. Simple, but lethal. Because when you remove the first person, your ego loses its armor. Your emotions lose their defense. Now, you're not inside the storm. You're watching it. Someone disrespects you. First person says, hey, insulted me. I need to respond. Third person, a man tried to provoke another. The response would cost more than the insult. You just gained power. Time slows. Triggers lose their grip. This isn't denial, it's strategy. You're narrating your life like a story you control with silence, space, and precision. Someone betrays you. Retribution would feed the traitor. Strategy demands absence. But there's a cost. Stay in this state too long, and you'll stop seeing people as people. They'll become patterns. Apologies will sound like glitches. Pain won't register. Only outcomes. That's the price of clarity. But in a world where your feelings are prey, you either become the hunter or remain the bleeding animal. Third-person view gives you space, and in that space, power lives. Not a robot, not a ghost, a strategist watching everything, feeling nothing, calculating everything. Step 4, the worst-case scenario hack. Emotion feeds on uncertainty. That tight chest, trembling hand, racing mind, they aren't reactions to what is. They're reactions to what might be. So what happens when you destroy that uncertainty? You become untouchable. That's the function of this drill. The worst-case scenario hack. Not optimism, not blind faith, just strategic mental warfare. Here's how it works. You imagine the worst. You describe it in full detail. You accept it, and fear dies. Elite minds operate like this. They walk into negotiations ready to walk out with nothing. They speak truths already braced for backlash. They love while already prepared for loss. You begin by asking, what's the worst that could happen? Then you answer it, clearly, coldly. She leaves. The company fails. You're humiliated. Everyone walks away. You don't flinch. You walk through that storm. Mentally, imagine the silence, the empty room, the betrayal, the mocking laugh, the rain on your windshield while your car dies and the world moves on. You live the breakdown before it breaks you. You feel the collapse before it arrives, and you accept it, not because you're passive, but because you're mentally armed. Because once your mind has rehearsed the worst, reality loses its sting. The brain only panics when it's caught off guard. So don't give it the chance. Train it like a soldier. Drill the disaster until it becomes boring. Because once you've blood in rehearsal, you don't shatter in performance. Other people pray for plan A. You bury it. You picture plan Z, and you make peace with it. That peace, it's your weapon. While they freeze, you move. While they hope, you execute. While they crumble, you calculate. This hack also immunizes you against manipulation. People control you by dangling vague consequences. But you've already visualized them. You've already faced them. So they can't scare you. He might leave. Let him. You've already watched it happen. You might lose everything. Then you rebuild. Smarter, colder. They'll laugh at you. Let them. Their laughter funds nothing. When you've mentally walked through fire, threats become noise. But here's the brutal part. This tactic demands real courage. Not fake confidence. Not loud pride. Stillness. The kind that lets you sit in mental ruin and whisper, if this is the cost, I'll still pay it. And that kind of mind, you can't manipulate it. You can't corner it. You can't control it. Because it's already lost and kept walking. This isn't about attracting the worst. It's about disarming it. You look it in the eye and keep moving. That's not recklessness. That's precision built on pain. From that pain comes power. No overthinking, no panic, no begging. Because you've already survived the collapse in silence. So when the real blow lands, you don't fold. You don't run, you execute. Not because you're fearless, but because you feared it first and survived. Becoming the master of cold calculation, you are no longer emotional first, you are strategic first. When fear, rage, or hope rush into your system, you don't suppress them, you pause them. You extract the feeling, study it like a machine, and then decide if it deserves action. That's cold calculation. You replace emotional bias with mental clarity, and from that clarity, you extract leverage across every domain of your life. Business and negotiation. In business, emotion clouds valuation. A desperate entrepreneur overvalues their product. A nervous buyer accepts the first offer. A reactive manager hires the wrong team. The master of cold calculation operates differently. They enter every room with zero emotional attachment to outcome. They don't hope for a deal. They build the leverage to command one. They understand this. Power in negotiation is silenced optionality. You show no desperation. You always have another path. And when the other side realizes you're not afraid to walk away, they fold first. Debates and arguments. When someone raises their voice, you lower yours. When they insult, you inquire. When they attack, you dissect. Emotional minds seek to win the argument. Strategic minds seek to control the frame. Cold calculation lets you dominate debates, not through louder words, but through unshakable composure. You expose contradictions, dismantle assumptions, and ask surgical questions. Let them scream. You're building a trap with calm logic. Tough decisions. Most people freeze when the stakes rise. Why? Because they want the perfect answer. They want to avoid all regret. But the master of cold calculation knows there is no perfect decision, only the one you can execute fully with no hesitation. They weigh consequences without flinching. They remove morality when needed. And they ask the hardest question of all: what happens if I do nothing? Then they strike. Social and relationships, this is where cold calculation becomes lethal. You see beyond words. You measure consistency over charm. You track power dynamics without emotion. You no longer chase. You no longer beg. You observe, then choose. You know exactly when to stay, exactly when to disappear, and exactly how to make your silence echo louder than their presence. That's not heartless. That's control.